We are back on Inside Politics, talking presidential politics with the presidential election just a few days away on November 8th. We're talking with Bill Phillips, a Republican consultant, and Larry Woods, Democratic analyst. Gentlemen, there was so much talk, and early on in the campaign, we had third-party candidates that were getting in the high single digits. Some even thought at one time they might get up to 15% and qualify to be in one of the debates. But the polls I've seen, they're now down at 1%, 2%, or 3%. Larry, is that just sort of typical of what happens to third-party candidates?
Yes, with the exception of Teddy Roosevelt in 1912, that's almost always what happens.
Ross Perot.
Or Ross Perot. And really, what did he get, 18, 19? 20%. If he hadn't dropped out there in the middle of it, might have done better than that. And I guess Trump is sort of following in the Perot mold, isn't he? In a lot of ways.
Now, there was some talk, Bill, of McMullen, the Mormon candidate that's running out in Utah, being able to win the race out there, and he would be the first third-party candidate to get any electoral votes since George Wallace in 1968. Now, that seemed to have faded in the polls I've seen lately. He's still second, but he's not nearly as close to Trump as he was before.
I think it's settling in now, and they're going to and vote their normal way that they vote, although that the Mormon community is very tight, and it would be possible that they would show up for him.
Are we seeing in these particular situations Republicans, Bill, coming back home to Donald Trump or to the Republican Party to vote for president at the end, even though they weren't happy about it, thought about doing something else, maybe even one time thought about voting for Hillary Clinton but didn't? Is that what's happening? And the late deciders, are they trending Trump too? Is that why we're seeing his movement?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot to that. What I'm running into is a lot of Republicans are just skipping, or for the first time in their voting career, doing a write-in. But out in Utah, who knows?
Larry, I heard both you and Bill say that you really thought the FBI announcement would have a greater impact on the race. Why did that happen? Was it because something the Clinton people did, or just isn't that big a deal?
I think most people just don't care about the emails issue. Now, if somebody produces an email where Hillary writes Putin in Russia saying, "You're going to be my best friend when I get elected," we'll care. But there aren't any emails like that, and without those some kind of explosive email, most people see this as, yes, you never should have done that, and now let's move on.
But it does appear that whichever candidate has been in the news, it hasn't been good for them. It's a situation where if it's a referendum on one of them, the other one's going to win, and vice versa?
It's going to be whoever is disliked the least in the end.
So, Bill, let me ask you, I know we've had you on the show several times. You're not a Trump fan. We asked you earlier where you were going to vote. You said to ask you in November. I think you wanted me to ask you after the election, but I know you've already voted. Do you want to share with what you finally decided to do?
You know, I anticipated this.
He's hard on you.
You knew you were coming back, right?
All right, I will confess. I, for the first time, did a write-in for president, and I decided I started with the Bush family when I started out, so I finished with the Bush family this time and voted for Jeb, knowing I threw it away.
And in Tennessee, those particular ballots are not even counted. Is that right?
Most states.
You have to be approved to be a write-in candidate or be a third-party candidate for that to be.
So in essence, I skipped over the presidential slot and voted down the ticket.
So Larry, from what I've heard you say, you think it's going to be more of a comfortable night for the Democrats than a close night necessarily, at least in terms of the presidential race.
I think Hillary Clinton will win comfortably. 300 electoral votes, 320 electoral votes. I think the Republicans will keep control of the House. I agree with Bill. I think the Senate's going to be razor thin, 1 or 2 votes either way.
Popular vote? Somewhere in the high 40s for her?
I think Bill and I both think the same thing, that Trump might get the popular vote. According to the polling, Hillary's going to win the popular vote by a point or two.
Well, now, every time we've had this happen before where somebody won the presidency and didn't win the popular vote, there's always those questions about her, that particular person elected not being able to feel like they're qualified to run. They didn't get a mandate. This could be a particular problem with her honesty issues.
But if you graduated 8th grade, you know it's electoral votes that count, and the only thing that count. You know, the Hillary haters, and 10% or whatever the population, you're right, they're going to trumpet that for years or anything else they can get hold of. But I think Hillary will win. I think she'll do a great job. I think she'll pleasantly surprise a lot of non-Democrats. she's are going to like some stuff she's probably going to do, and I'm going to be sitting here with in 6 months gnashing my teeth about it. But I do think she'll win.
Well, now, Bill, what are your thoughts about that? What's your prediction for election night?
Well, I think there's a good chance that Trump will win the popular vote and she will win the electoral. If that is the case, I hope she gets enough over 270 that it looks like it's legitimate and not. But then the question is, how will he behave on November 9th and his followers? And I think that's a question that's people are thinking about.
Well, the other question is, if these FBI investigations bear fruit and continue, and you have a president elected, what happens to her in terms of her situation between the time she, I suppose, either becomes president when the Electoral College vote meets and casts their ballots, and January 20th and afterwards? Could we have a president that's sworn in on January 20th and the House starts impeachment proceedings the next day because she might be under indictment?
No, that's not going to happen. You might have one or two voices screaming for that, but that's not going to happen. Let's be clear. The FBI has closed the criminal investigation of Hillary, and they have not reopened it. The announcement by Comey was, oh, we found more emails and we're going to look at them. That's not a declaration we're reopening the investigation. They're going to have to find something specific in those New York emails of former Congressman Weiner, Bum, Fool, whatever his name is, and they're probably just going to be duplicates of what's already in the record.
Yeah, my non-attorney, non-partisan statement is they're going to, when they finally look at those emails, it's going to be duplicates, boring, and maybe some interesting, titillating emails.
Bill Phillips, thank you not only for being here today, but throughout this election. And Larry, thank you as well. We'll see how you guys do come Tuesday night. And thank you for joining us on Inside Politics. We'll see you back here again next time. If you can't get enough politics in the meantime, go to the News Channel 5 website. You'll find my Capitol View commentary there. There's a new commentary posted every Friday afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and join us for Channel 5's coverage of the election next Tuesday night here on the Plus and on the main channel. And we'll see you back here next weekend for next Inside Politics. Please vote.